But guys, this is typical. Like, there's nothing special about the Dead Sea Scrolls or about New Testament manuscripts or about any of the other medieval Old Testament manuscripts. If you look at any ancient manuscripts of
You should clarify really quick.
ancient
Someone's going to
work,
clip that out of context.
what should I clarify? Sorry, I was in the middle of a thought.
Saying that there's nothing special.
There isn't.
Hello, class. Today I'll be your teacher. Bart, sit down. Leophilius, please be quiet. Kip, let's see your presentation.
So, guys, this next little bit on this line, this is verse 11. So humankind is humbled and everyone is brought low. The haughty eyes of humankind will be brought low and human pride will be humbled. So that's what's in 1Q Isaiah A. And there's no stuttering there or stumbling. Nobody thinks that they made a mistake here. There's no telltale signs that anyone made a mistake in this manuscript. I would strongly suggest this is not a mistake. This is the scribe copying what's in front of him on his exemplar. Now, let's take a look at what was added by the Masoretic text. As you can push play, Vish. All right, here is what was added. And just pause that, if you could, please. Do not forgive them. Enter into the rock and hide in the dust from the terror of Yahweh and from the glory of his majesty. Everyone has to make this decision for themselves, but I'm going to leave it to you. And maybe this is something that you guys in the chat can weigh in on. Do you think, theologically speaking, that this is an insignificant difference, or is this a significant difference, theologically speaking, to this text? If you think this is a theologically significant difference, maybe just throw a 1 into the chat. There's over 400 people watching. And I just want to highlight this again. It says, do not forgive them. This is an imperative. This is an instruction. This is a command.
Dr. Kip Davis, a YouTube biblical scholar specializing in the Dead Sea Scrolls, posed a question to his audience of 400 live viewers, paraphrased as follows. Does the addition or absence of verses 9 through 16 in Isaiah 2 significantly alter the theological meaning of the text, or indeed the broader message of the collection we call the Bible? Dr. Davis narrowed his inquiry to the book of Isaiah as preserved in the Dead Sea Scrolls, highlighting this textual variant as a scribal inclusion. His question was not about textual criticism, which I am not qualified to talk about, but theological in nature, which is the realm I play in. While I do not claim to be a biblical scholar, my credentials consist of an expired CPR certificate and being baptized Catholic as an infant, along with a decade of experience producing content for a failed YouTube channel. I felt compelled to offer my perspective. As a regular subscriber and supporter of Dr. Davis's channel, responding to his question seemed both fair and worthwhile. Despite my lack of formal credentials, I hope this response provides a balanced answer to his question, while also addressing for my audience the broader implications of missing verses and added passages for the practicing Christian and the Bible as a whole. The question of Isaiah chapter 2, verses 9 through 16, is really a question of verse 9. But here is the larger section which I wish to address. Their land is full of idols. They bow down to the works of their hands. What their fingers have made, so all shall be abased, each one brought low. Do not pardon them. Get behind the rocks. Hide in the dust from the terror of the Lord and the splendor of his majesty. The eyes of human pride shall be lowered. The arrogance of mortals shall be abased, and the Lord alone will be exalted on that day. For the Lord of hosts will have his day against all that is proud and arrogant, against all that is high, and it will be brought low. Yes, against all the cedars of Lebanon, and against all the oaks of Bashan, against all the lofty mountains and all the high hills, against every lofty tower and every fortified wall, against all the ships of Tarshish and all stately vessels. NABre, St. Joseph's Medium-Sized Edition, Catholic Book Publishing Corp., page 866. Dr. Davis's inquiry fundamentally touches on a key issue in textual criticism, not just for those who deconstruct or for scholars, but also for those in the world of apologetics and believers. Do the known textual variants that we have identified thus far impact the greater theological interpretation Christians call tradition? Using verse 9 through 16 in Isaiah 2, often identified as an abrupt intrusion, as a microcosm for the issue at hand, we must first ask, what is this passage doing theologically? For me, this section serves as a warning against pride and arrogance, condemning humanity's tendency toward hubris. The commentaries I reviewed for this response largely interpret it as a condemnation of idolatry and a warning against pursuing wealth and power over piety to God alone. To evaluate whether these verses significantly alter Isaiah's theology, I consulted about 10 Bible translations and 5 varying interpretive traditions. The abruptness of the edition, even in the various English translations I reviewed, is striking. It raises the obvious question for even a lay reader. Did some scribe add this? Yet, finding answers in materials available to the general public proved difficult. Even my copies of Penguin's The Complete Dead Sea Scrolls and Barstone's The Other Bible, which include Dead Sea Scroll selections, offered no insights on this matter. For the average layperson, access to relevant information remains limited, often hidden behind paywalls or tuition fees for admittance to academic institutions. This disparity raises an important but separate question. How can non-academics engage with nuanced questions of theological meaning in ancient texts without access to the necessary resources? While I will not attempt to answer this here, this issue deserves attention. Fortunately, for practicing Christians, Jews, Muslims, and Mormons, the themes of Isaiah chapter 2, verses 9 through 16 are not unique to this passage. The call to abandon evil and pursue good echoes throughout Isaiah. I'm thinking here of chapter 1, verses 16 through 20, chapter 65, verses 10 through 13, and chapter 66, verse 4. And in other parts of the Bible, such as the verses of Genesis chapter 3, verses 8 through 19, and the books of Deuteronomy and Leviticus. The themes and gist of these verses and books also speak of judgment and condemnation, particularly against reliance on idolatry, wealth, and power. Isaiah's overarching theological message remains intact even without verses 9 through 16 of chapter 2. Commentaries from Catholic Christian church fathers and Jewish rabbinical fathers support my theory of thematic redundancy of this passage. For example, St. John Chrysostom, circa AD 407, interprets Isaiah's condemnation of silver and horses as a critique of hoarding possessions, a theme paralleled elsewhere in Scripture. Rabbi David Kami Radak, AD 1160 through 1235, reads the passage as a prophecy that material wealth and military might will fail to save humanity from divine judgment, a message consistent with Isaiah's broader narrative. In contrast, several Protestant commentaries I reviewed, Nelson, Crossway, Holman, and Moody, treat this passage as essential for understanding Isaiah's theological framework. These commentaries emphasize the themes of divine judgment, the futility of idolatry, and the ineffectiveness of radical self-reliance. However, they often do not address the verse's status as a potential scribal addition. As for Catholics, the treatments of this passage vary. In the Catholic Bibles and Catholic commentaries I referenced for this video, some, like the New American Bible Revised Edition and Revised Standard Version Catholic Edition, bracket or footnote the verses, acknowledging them as textual intrusions. Others, such as the CTS New Jerusalem Bible Revised Edition and the English Standard Version Catholic Edition, include the verses without comment, reflecting a neutral acceptance of their presence. Ultimately, the addition or absence of Isaiah 2, verses 9 through 16, does not appear to significantly alter the book's theology. Themes of judgment, the ills of idolatry, and the wisdom of reliance on God reoccur throughout Isaiah and the broader biblical canon. However, this variant underscores the importance of theological reflection and serves as a caution against blindly accepting what is presented as part of holy tradition without verification. Without careful balance, scholarly textual criticism, apologetical explanations, and hermeneutical interpretations can lead to damaging misinterpretations of biblical narratives. For scholars like Dr. Davis, textual variants are not mere oddities and curiosities for discussion and avoidance of awkward silence. They challenge the presuppositions, traditions, doctrines, and dogmas surrounding biblical texts. Well, Dr. Davis's expertise in the Isaiah scroll far surpasses my own. His question invites lay participants like myself to thoughtfully engage with his content. As a Catholic, textual variants such as these in Isaiah do not trouble me as much as they might a Protestant reliant on sola scriptura. Regardless, the themes of divine justice, the futility of idolatry, and the call to moral integrity resonate throughout the biblical narrative. Whether or not Isaiah 2, 9 through 16 is present, the broader message remains clear. Trust in God alone, for wealth, power, glory, and fame will ultimately fail you. Thank you, and good night. Please like, please subscribe, please comment, and share this video.